Let's take a look at Kell Brook versus Errol Spence Jr., the numbers. Stay tuned. Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon for notification. And I got to talk about a little bit of numbers. We're obviously just a few days outside of Kell Brook versus Errol Spence Jr. Let's talk about some Boxingego, the numbers. Now, I thought this was very interesting. Now, according to CompuBox, Errol Spence Jr., he landed 246 of 633 punches for a total of 39%, almost 40%. Very good. Kell Brook connected on 136 out of 442 punches for 31%, right? And the thing that's interesting with this is you got a guy who's talented like Kell Brook is, and he's being outlanded and outthrown. And not to mention, see, this is how you know who knows boxing when they're judging and stuff. To me, Kell Brook was doing good early, but he never, even though he was getting shots off, there was only one particular moment where it looked like he may have buzzed Errol Spence Jr. And the way Errol Spence Jr. just bit down and buckled up, it was hard to tell because he never took a step back and never stopped. He never looked so shaken up where he started to retreat or to clinch and hold and get all frazzled. I never seen that, which is the sign of a good fighter, because a good fighter knows how to bite down. You know what I mean? Even, I mean, look at Floyd Mayweather versus Shane Mosley when he was hurt. Look how he operated. Even, I would say, Adrian Broner versus Chino Maidana. He was clearly hurt throughout that fight, but he bit down and actually won some of those championship rounds. So we're looking at a very good fighter in Errol Spence Jr. You could say whatever you want. Oh, he can develop this and that, but what he did with Kell Brook was pretty sharp. And I'm probably going to watch the fight again, but I thought that was pretty impressive to land more and outthrow Kell Brook, someone who's crafty. Because Kell Brook, the way he was coming in, he was like kind of lunging in, but he was getting some of those shots off. He has a nasty uppercut. And to me, I told people, I said, just because Golovkin stopped Kell Brook and he's bigger doesn't mean that Errol Spence cannot stop Kell Brook. And that's exactly what happened. Check out the 7 reasons. Some people had this notion that the only reason, like, Kell Brook is unstoppable at welterweight, and the only reason he got stopped was because he was at middleweight. But if you look at it, to me, I got to look at the CompuBox from the Golovkin fight, but to me, Kell Brook seemed easier for Errol Spence to hit when he got into a rhythm than Golovkin. Golovkin was like whiffing and wildly throwing after that second round where Kell Brook had some success with Golovkin. He was bop, 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 bopping his head up with uppercuts. And Golovkin seemed like he was just trying to put steam and fastballs on everything, and he kind of got sloppy. Even his own trainer, Abel Sanchez, is on HBO 24/7, and they were recapping the fight, and he said that it was for the Danny Jacobs Golovkin 24/7, I believe, and they were recapping Golovkin's last fight, and he said his fighter got sloppy. So you don't get mad at me, because I know how some of you radical Golovkin fans like to do. Like, oh, you just hate Golovkin. His own trainer said that. So to me, Errol Spence, coming from the Bundus and Algiers of the world to fighting a world-class person in his backyard like Kell Brook, highly impressive performance to me, because he was able to outland and outthrow while staying composed even when he was under fire. And like I said, to me, I never seen much in the fight where Kell Brook was, when he started off, to be honest, he started off aggressive. Round 1, he was aggressive. It's like he was trying to take it. He was in front of his hometown crowd. He was fresh, and he was just trying to take it straight to Errol Spence. Like, man, I'm the stronger guy. I fought bigger guys. I fought Golovkin. You're no match. You're no, you know what I mean? You're no middleweight. So I'll bring it straight to you. And at no point, like I said, did I see Errol Spence kind of buckling under pressure. And for a guy who doesn't have, he has experience obviously being an Olympian, but he doesn't have the experience. He didn't medal, right? And he doesn't have the experience as far as the pro game. You know what I mean? Audley Harrison has a gold medal. That doesn't just grant you success as a pro. So to see him do that was pretty impressive. But like I said, there wasn't a spot where Kell Brook was, like, people keep bringing up the early rounds and, oh, I seen Errol Spence in trouble, or he was losing. Yeah, he was losing. I had him losing more rounds than winning. But to me, if you really think about it, how he was losing, he was still in the fight. He was just losing some of those rounds. And that's a difference between that and getting dogged. If you're in there and somebody's just dogging you, like pop, pop, and you know what I mean, you're just spilling all over the place and stuff, that's different. But Errol Spence was still throwing, he was still countering, he was still staying composed with his game plan and cutting off the ring and stuff. It was just Kell Brook was getting the best of some of those rounds, right? And it just turns out that Errol Spence Jr., when he piled on his aggression, Kell Brook's eye worsened, and Kell Brook started to buckle and fatigue and slow down under the pressure. Then he had to take a knee when he was getting swarmed. Legit, you know what I mean? That was the first knockdown, and then later he ends up quitting and takes a knee later. So to me, it showed that Kell Brook couldn't really hurt Errol Spence Jr., but when Errol Spence Jr. piled it on, he was able to hurt Kell Brook. Kind of like if you look at Amir Khan versus Canelo, and Amir Khan I thought he was doing good for the first 4 rounds. He was out speeding Canelo and getting off first and stuff like that. But the thing is, he couldn't hurt Canelo. So Canelo stayed his course, invested to the body, got his timing down, slowed him down in round 5, and then he X'd him out in round 6 and knocked him out brutally, right? But the only difference is that was a fight that shouldn't have happened because it was 2 different guys in 2 different weight divisions. It's impressive for Errol Spence and Kell Brook because these guys were both about the same size in the same division. If not, Kell Brook may have been a bit bigger and massier. He looked a little bit bigger to me. Plus, he had experience at the higher divisions than Errol Spence. So it's very impressive if you really think about it. 39% landed of your total punches. And obviously, a lot of that probably came from the final rounds where he really started getting off. But like I said, people keep making this big to-do about Kell Brook winning. I mean, I don't know what people expected. I don't know if people expected that Errol Spence, just because he was being praised, he was going to just go out there after a 9-month layoff and toy with them easily. Like, I mean, that's not even realistic. You know what I mean? Even the great Floyd Mayweather earlier in his career had challenging fights with Castillo or guys like Cotto. You know what I mean? Cotto gave him some work early, stuff like that. So you're not gonna just go in there and bomb everybody out. But I like what I really liked is Errol Spence never seemed to go away from his game plan, the body work, and that's the thing. I see fighters, a lot of times young fighters, that they do something great, like let's say a jab, but they don't do it consistently. We consistently see Errol Spence Jr. demolish people's body. You know what I mean? And that was obviously a fruitful and the right game plan for somebody who maybe struggled to make the weight, was coming down in weight, and a guy that you want to win the battle of attrition with, and you want to take some steam off his punches because Kell Brook can pop. And like I said, the whole Jeff Lacy thing was stupid to me. Like, I don't know. There's nothing in Errol Spence that I seen to the point where it looked like he was going to just be some complete bust of a person like Jeff Lacy or somebody. But, I mean, Kell Brook told you that post-fight. The truth always comes out. His face was broken up, and he did that interview, and he was like, yeah, I couldn't see me fighting. He's a sharpshooter, so I had to, basically, I looked at Dom, and I had to quit. Like, I had to retire because he was a sharpshooter, and I knew I got to live to fight another day. So, to me, if you looked at him, he looked discouraged in that interview, and that's like a day or so later. So he was clearly broken down. He broke his spirit. Now, there's a lot of people questioning how can Kell Brook even bounce back from this, and that's honestly a solid question. Jr. Witter was saying he needs to retire, and I guess he's friends with Kell Brook. And I don't know. It's just crazy how you take too many tough fights, or you don't do the right thing in your career, and one wrong move, one false move, and then people are now calling for you to retire and stuff like that. It's just crazy. But 2 gruesome eye injuries in this type of sport, then moving up to 154, even if you move up or you stay down there, there's killers at 47, and then there's bigger killers, like in terms of frame and size, at 54. So I don't know. I don't know where he goes from here. Like, is he going to fight big-ass Jermell Charlo at 54? But he needs to rest. It was a sharpshooter performance. I want to just talk about those numbers in terms of total shots thrown and landed, and 39% for a guy who gave himself a B-. And he obviously wasn't quite as sharp in those early rounds, and I think a lot of that had to do with either traveling overseas and or the 9-month layoff, you know what I'm saying? And he was in there with a good fighter. So I think it was a culmination of all 3 of those things. But when it was all said and done, he still landed almost 40%. I don't think Kell Brook's ever really been hit like that, you know what I'm saying? Like that much, you know what I mean? And it's crazy because his trainer, Dominique Ingle, is basically trying to take away credit. Like, oh, it's because of the weight cut or because of his eye and this and that. But everything, styles make fights, and it seemed like Errol Spence Jr., his style was the biggest problem. A lesser fighter, or a fighter who doesn't have that exact same style, then Kell Brook might have won that fight. You know what I mean? In fact, I mean, if it was Kell Brook, Jesse Vargas, Kell Brook, Danny Garcia, that Kell Brook that showed up, would they be able to execute and have stopped Kell Brook? I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. You know what I'm saying? The way Kell Brook was moving, that's what gives Danny Garcia problems. Jesse Vargas, I don't know if he has the power to put on that much. He could pressure you, but I don't know if he has the power to hurt Kell Brook like that. You know what I mean? So all in all, this was a very good performance. Like Kell Brook himself said, Errol Spence was a sharpshooter, and he didn't even feel at his best. So that just goes, it's kind of scary to think about, because that means he could actually get better. And I think he will get better from a performance like this. Somebody who made you work, and you had to put it together. You had to show adjustments and show pacing and keep yourself, you know what I mean? Because there was one point where he hurt Kell Brook, and I'm like, man, is he going to punch himself out? So this little test like that is good for a fighter like Errol Spence, who wasn't a champion previously. And then lastly, I want to say, like, with Kell Brook being crafty and not necessarily being hit that much, guys like Sean Porter, who are more aggressive, or very aggressive and very rough, and find a way to get on the inside. I don't recall, I mean, I can go try to pull up the CompuBox, but I don't remember Sean Porter landing that much on Kell Brook. You know what I mean? Same thing with Golovkin when he was getting frantic and just trying to throw heat and throw fastballs at Kell Brook. He was missing a lot of those. So I like the patience, the accuracy, and the dedication to the game plan from Errol Spence. Let me know what you guys thought. What's next for Errol Spence? Obviously, there's a lot of different options. Keith Thurman, who's healing from an injury. There's Manny Pacquiao he called out, but I don't think Pacquiao's trying to fight anybody but Jeff Horn. Or now Conor McGregor. And it's funny, too, because Bob Arum and Pacquiao have both now said that if Floyd don't want to fight him, we'll fight Conor McGregor. And I don't hear one person in boxing saying that Pacquiao is ruining boxing, or I don't see Oscar De La Hoya writing letters to Pacquiao saying, why do you want to fight Conor McGregor, even though he wanted his fighter Canelo to fight against Conor McGregor. But Pacquiao's openly, and Bob Arum, declaring that they'll take the fight too. So, you know what I mean? Money is the motive. Everybody would take that fight with Conor McGregor if it's going to make him $150 million or something crazy, including Pacquiao. So where's all the Pacquiao, you ruined everything type of letters to him? You know what I mean? So that's how I know De La Hoya has some issues with Mayweather, particularly, where I don't know if it's jealousy because Richard Schaefer left and Al Heyman, and they have former Golden Boy fighters, but it's so apparent. Like I said, I don't see De La Hoya talking about Pacquiao wanting to fight Conor McGregor and this is the worst thing and nobody should support it. You know what I mean? So many double standards in the sport of boxing. But shout out to Errol Spence. Let me know what you guys think. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.